Have you ever felt invisible while working your hardest, like your efforts vanish into thin air unnoticed and unappreciated? Rachel Moore knew this feeling intimately. Every night, while the world slept, her hands restored order to a corporate kingdom where she was nothing but a shadow, a ghost who entered after dark and disappeared before dawn. But what if I told you that sometimes the most invisible person in a room can become the most influential? That a simple note, written in the quiet hours of night, could crack open the steel vault around a CEO's heart. This is the story of Rachel, a struggling single mother who took a job no one wanted, and Lucas, a man who had everything except what truly mattered. It's about how kindness, offered without expectation of return, can bloom in the most unlikely soil and change not just one life but many. Sometimes, the people we never see are the ones who see us most clearly of all. And that's where our story begins, in the quiet hours when Pittsburgh sleeps, and one woman's small act of courage created ripples that would eventually become waves. Rachel Moore's day began when most people's ended. At 30, she wasn't where she'd imagined herself. 8 years ago, she'd been a promising sociology student with dreams of changing systems. Now, she was a recently divorced single mother, living in a one-bedroom apartment in suburban Pittsburgh, trying to make ends meet without a degree. "Mommy, why do you have to work at night?" her son Jamie had asked one evening, his 8-year-old eyes serious in his small face. "Because that's when the buildings need cleaning," she'd answered, smoothing his hair. "And because it means I can be here when you get home from school." What she didn't say, because no one else would hire me. Because with only 3 years of college and a 6-year gap on my resume, this was the only door that opened. Every evening at 8 p.m., after tucking Jamie into bed at her neighbor Mrs. Patel's apartment, Rachel would slip into her dark blue uniform. The embroidered patch read "Quality Cleaning Services," but there was nothing quality about how the job made her feel. Invisible, disposable, a human eraser, removing all evidence of the day's human activity. Her assignment, Gideon Corp., a 12-story technology firm whose sleek glass building dominated the business district. While executives made decisions that moved millions, Rachel moved trash cans and wiped fingerprints from stainless steel elevator doors. "Remember, don't disturb anything on the desks," her supervisor had warned on her first night. "Don't touch papers. Don't look at screens. You're not there to be seen or heard. Just clean and go." Rachel took those instructions to heart, but something inside her rebelled against complete invisibility. One night, after wiping coffee rings from a desk where family photos stood proudly displayed, she paused. The woman in the photo had the same tired smile Rachel saw in her mirror every morning. A working mother trying her best. Without overthinking, Rachel took out a small sticky note and wrote, "You did good today. Someone who notices." She placed it on the keyboard and continued her rounds. The next night, Rachel was surprised to find a reply note. "Thank you. I needed that more than you know." Something warm bloomed in her chest. Connection, however small, across the divide of their separate worlds. That night, she left 3 more notes on different floors. Within a week, it had become her secret mission. Small yellow squares of encouragement scattered like seeds throughout the building. Never signed with her name, just someone who notices. On the 12th floor, executive territory, Rachel moved with extra care. The corner office belonged to Lucas Gideon himself, CEO and company founder. At 36, Lucas had graced the cover of Forbes as technology's coldest genius. The article called him brilliantly analytical but emotionally unavailable, a man who saw human connection as inefficient. His office revealed little. No photos, no personal touches, just awards and business books. But one night, Rachel noticed a yellow sticky note on his monitor. "Call Dad, hospital results." It was the first hint that the robot CEO might be human after all. Rachel hesitated, then left a note on his desk. "Whatever you're facing, you have the strength for it. Someone who notices." The next night, the note was gone. Rachel wondered if he'd crumpled it up, annoyed by the intrusion, but something compelled her to leave another. "Your plants need water. I took care of it." Someone who Notices. As weeks passed, Rachel's notes appeared throughout the building, small encouragements left like breadcrumbs of kindness. In the daytime, puzzled conversations bubbled up among employees about their mysterious well-wisher. At night, Rachel smiled to herself as she emptied their trash, feeling a quiet connection to people she'd never meet. She began to know them, these day-dwellers whose spaces she tended, the marketing director who kept a drawer full of energy bars, the IT manager whose desk was covered with Star Wars figurines, the HR specialist who left dried tears on performance review papers, people with lives and struggles she could glimpse only through what they left behind. Rachel's own struggles mounted. Her ex-husband's child support checks were chronically late. Jamie needed new winter boots. The apartment building's heating was unreliable, but each night as she moved through the silent corridors of Gideon Corp, she found a strange peace in her invisible role. Here she could make a difference, however small. Have you ever quietly left a kind note for someone who needed it, or received one that completely turned your day around? If so, share that moment in the comments below. Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. And don't look away just yet, because in the next episode, when two seemingly distant worlds finally collide, will Rachel's quiet notes be enough to melt the steel heart of the robot CEO? Stay tuned, because sometimes silent kindness can rewrite an entire destiny. By her third month, Rachel had established a rhythm. Each floor had its own personality, its own stories told through the artifacts people left behind. She knew who stayed latest, marketing, who ordered the messiest takeout, IT, and who kept photos of their dogs on their desks, almost everyone. The notes had become her secret mission. Great presentation yesterday. Someone who notices. She'd write to the person whose rehearsal notes she'd seen in the trash. Your plant looks thirsty, gave it some water. Someone who notices for the wilting peace lily by the window. Each message was a tiny thread connecting her to this other world she cleaned but didn't belong to. Sometimes returning the next night, she'd find replies, "Thank you, whoever you are," or "You made my day." These small exchanges were treasures she collected in her heart. Rachel's favorite floor was 7, the design team. Their spaces were colorful and personal, filled with creative energy that lingered even after they'd gone. One desk belonged to someone named Sophia, who left beautiful sketches in her trash. Rachel never threw these away. Instead, she'd smooth them out and tuck them back into Sophia's drawer. One night, she left a note. "Your discarded art is too beautiful for the trash. Someone who notices." The next evening, she found a sketch deliberately left out, a beautiful rendering of hands releasing a paper crane with a note, "For the person who sees beauty where others don't." Rachel had framed it, hanging it by Jamie's bed. When he asked where it came from, she simply said, "From someone who sees me." The 11th floor was finance, all sharp edges and precision. Rachel always found their trash cans filled with crumpled spreadsheets and coffee cups. One desk had a photo of a man with twin toddlers. Night after night, Rachel noticed the desk's occupant seemed to stay later than anyone. Coffees multiplied, eye drops appeared, stress radiated from the space. She left a note. "Your twins need you rested. Go home to them." Someone who notices. The next day there was no coffee cup, but a small thank you note waited. "You're right. I needed the reminder about what matters." The 12th floor remained the most intriguing. Lucas Gideon worked later than anyone, but his schedule was unpredictable. Rachel had developed a sixth sense for his presence. The subtle scent of expensive cologne, a coffee cup still warm to the touch. These were her warnings to melt away unseen. One night she found his office door ajar, laptop open but chair empty. On his desk lay an open folder. Plans for her company restructuring. Words jumped out: efficiency, redundancy, cost-cutting measures. Rachel felt a chill. Behind each clinical term were real people with sticky notes on their monitors and family photos on their desks. Without thinking, she left a note beside the folder. "Remember, your decisions affect real lives. Someone who notices." She'd just finished the executive bathroom when she heard footsteps. Grabbing her cart, Rachel ducked into a supply closet, heart pounding. Through the sliver of the door, she watched Lucas Gideon return to his office. He was younger than she expected, with dark circles under his eyes that didn't show in press photos. She watched him discover her note. Expected anger, perhaps a crumpling of paper. Instead, he stood perfectly still, reading it twice. Then, surprisingly, he tucked it into his wallet before returning to his work. Something about that moment changed everything. The robot CEO was carrying her words with him. Her invisibility had, paradoxically, given her voice. In the days that followed, Rachel noticed subtle changes. The restructuring folder disappeared. A new memo appeared on his desk about alternative efficiency measures. And for the first time, a family photo appeared. An older man, presumably his father, standing beside a teenage Lucas at what looked like a graduation. Rachel began leaving regular notes in his office, each one a gentle reminder of humanity. The janitor on 3 has a sick daughter. That's why he sometimes seems behind. Someone who notices. Or, the team on 9 stayed until midnight to finish the project. They deserve more than an email thanks. Someone who notices, she never knew if her words made any difference, but she continued her quiet campaign. Until one night when everything changed. It had been a particularly difficult day. Jamie had fallen at school, the hospital bill for his sprained wrist adding to her mounting debts. Her ex-husband had called to say he was moving across the country for a new job. The rent was increasing next month. Rachel entered Gideon Corp that night with a heavier heart than usual. As she worked through the lower floors, a strange energy seemed to fill the building. Desks were messier than usual, trash cans overflowing with tissues and coffee cups. She found a printed email about budget cuts on floor 6. On floor 8, a team calendar had layoffs scrawled across the following week. Rachel's notes that night took on a more urgent tone. Whatever comes, you have worth beyond this job, someone who notices, and your team's dedication hasn't gone unseen. Someone who notices. When she reached the 12th floor later than usual, she was surprised to find lights still on in the main conference room. Voices drifted through the door, tense discussion about financials and difficult decisions ahead. Rachel recognized Lucas Gideon's voice, then several others, the executive team working late into the night. She quietly cleaned the outer offices, listening to fragments of conversation. No choice but to cut headcount. 20% reduction. Entire departments could be, Rachel's chest tightened. 20%. That was hundreds of people, hundreds of lives upended, hundreds of families affected. As the daughter of a factory worker who'd lost his job in a corporate downsizing, she knew exactly what those clinical terms meant in human reality. The meeting broke up around midnight. Rachel hid in an office as executives filed out, their faces grim. Only Lucas remained alone in the conference room, surrounded by spreadsheets and graphs. Through the glass wall, Rachel could see him rubbing his temples, the weight of decisions, visibly pressing down on him. She should have moved on, finished her rounds, maintained her invisibility. Instead, she found herself doing something she'd never done before. She wrote a note, longer than usual, and deliberately walked into the conference room to place it in front of him. Lucas looked up, startled to see another person. For a moment, they simply stared at each other, the CEO and the cleaning woman. Two worlds colliding at midnight. I didn't know anyone was still here, he said. Rachel placed her note on the table and turned to leave. Wait, Lucas called after her. Are you the one who's been leaving notes? Rachel paused at the door but didn't turn. Just doing my job, sir. She continued her rounds, heart pounding, wondering if she'd just cost herself her job. The note she'd left was the boldest yet. Before you cut people, remember, they aren't numbers on a spreadsheet. They are parents who need to pay for braces. They are caregivers to aging parents. They are humans with dreams who chose to give their time to your vision. There are always more creative solutions than layoffs. Someone who finally speaks up. One Wednesday night, a week later, a thunderstorm lashed against the windows of the Gideon building. Rachel was running late. Jamie's fever had spiked, and she'd waited until Mrs. Patel arrived before leaving him. By the time she reached the 12th floor, it was nearly midnight. She was emptying the conference room trash when a voice behind her asked, "Are you the one leaving the notes?" Rachel turned, clutching a garbage bag like a shield. Lucas. Gideon stood in the doorway, tie loosened, looking exhausted. Up close, he seemed less intimidating, more human. Just a tired man working too late. "I'm sorry," she stammered. "I didn't mean to overstep." "You didn't answer my question," he said, his voice surprisingly gentle. "Yes," Rachel admitted. "I'm the note person." Lucas nodded, studying her as if she were a puzzle to solve. "Why?" Rachel set down her cleaning supplies. "I've worked here for 3 months. I know everyone's coffee orders, whose kids are sick, who's going through a divorce. I see what gets left behind when everyone thinks no one's looking, but no one sees me." She took a breath. "The notes make me feel less invisible. And maybe they help people feel seen too." Lucas said nothing for a long moment. Then he gestured to the conference table. "Sit with me, as please." Hesitantly, Rachel sat across from the man who could fire her with a word. Instead, he asked, "Who tells you that you did good today?" The question caught her off guard. "No one," she answered honestly. "I'm just the cleaning lady." "And I'm just the CEO," he replied with unexpected weariness. "People either fear me or want something from me. No one sees past the title." "Your note last week," he continued, "about the layoffs. It kept me up all night." Rachel tensed, preparing for recrimination. "Because you were right," Lucas finished. "I've been looking at this all wrong, treating people as variables in an equation." He slid a document across the table. Rachel glanced at it. A new restructuring plan? No layoffs. Instead, temporary executive pay cuts, office space consolidation, and something called the Innovation Challenge, asking employees for cost-saving ideas. "We announced it today," Lucas said. The response was unexpected. People are energized, committed. They're offering to make sacrifices to save their colleagues' jobs. Rachel smiled, relief flooding through her. People want to be part of solutions. They just need to be asked. Just then, his phone buzzed. Lucas checked it, and Rachel watched as his face transformed. The corporate mask crumbled, revealing raw pain beneath. Without explanation, he stood abruptly and walked to the window, his back to her, shoulders tight. "Mr. Gideon, are you okay?" "My father," he said, voice strained. "Stage 4. The treatments aren't working." Rachel stood uncertain. This powerful man was breaking before her eyes. The gap between their worlds suddenly seemed both vast and non-existent, just two humans facing loss. "I should have spent more time with him," Lucas confessed. "Built this company to make him proud. But now..." He trailed off, vulnerability, hanging in the air between them. "Who tells you that you did good today?" Rachel echoed his question back softly. Lucas turned, eyes glistening. "I think you just did." The storm raged outside as they sat talking. Rachel learned that Lucas's father had built a small computer repair shop from nothing, teaching his son everything about technology and business. But their relationship had fractured when Lucas took the company in a more corporate direction, prioritizing growth over the community-focused business his father had envisioned. "He wanted a business that treated people like family," Lucas explained. "I wanted an empire. Guess which one of us sleeps better at night?" Rachel understood broken dreams intimately. She told him about her interrupted education, her failed marriage to a man who'd grown increasingly resentful of her ambitions, her daily struggle to show Jamie that persistence matters even when life doesn't go as planned. "My son asks why we can't live in a house like his friends," Rachel said. "How do you explain economic inequality to an 8-year-old? Lucas listened with genuine interest, perhaps the first time anyone at Gideon Corp had truly seen Rachel. "More. What would help?" he asked finally. "If you could change one thing about your work situation, what would it be?" Rachel considered carefully. "Dignity," she answered. "Not having to be invisible. Being able to pick up my son from school without risking my job. Healthcare that doesn't make me choose between medicine and rent." As the storm began to subside, Lucas walked Rachel to the elevator. "Thank you," he said, "for the notes, for the conversation, for seeing the human behind the CEO. And thank you," Rachel replied, "for seeing the person behind the cleaning cart. Neither knew it then, but everything had just changed." 2 weeks passed with no further encounters, but something had shifted. Rachel noticed small changes in Lucas's office. A framed photo of an older man appeared on his desk, presumably his father. The sticky note she'd left remained tucked under his keyboard. Around the building, a new energy had taken hold. The innovation challenge had sparked creativity throughout the company. Rachel found whiteboards filled with ideas, collaborative project plans, new connections forming across departments. No one knew that their mysterious note writer had helped spark this change. Then, one Monday night, Rachel arrived to find her supervisor waiting in the lobby, his expression grave. Her stomach dropped before he even spoke. "We've had a complaint about scheduling irregularities," he said without meeting her eyes. "You've been coming in early, leaving early. That's against protocol." "My son," Rachel explained. "He gets out of school at 3. The neighbor can only watch him until 10. If I don't start early, I don't make the rules," he cut her off. "Company policy is company policy." "I'm sorry, but we have to let you go." Rachel stood frozen, calculating rapidly. Rent due in 2 weeks, grocery money dwindling, Jamie's. "Medication. Please," she whispered. "I need this job. Clean out your cart. Security will escort you out." In the employee restroom, Rachel changed out of her uniform with shaking hands. 8 months since the divorce, and she'd managed to keep them afloat. Barely, but still standing. Now what? Walking through the lobby one last time, Rachel felt truly invisible. Not in the peaceful way of before, but in the terrifying way of someone falling through society's cracks without a sound. Outside, rain fell again. Rachel pulled her thin jacket tighter, trying to marshal her thoughts. She'd apply for unemployment tomorrow. Call about that cashier job at the convenience store. Maybe her landlord would give her an extension. Rachel! She turned, surprised to hear her name. Lucas Gideon stood at the building entrance, raindrops darkening his expensive suit. "They fired you?" he asked, joining her under the small awning. "How did you know my name?" Rachel countered. "I asked about you. The note writer. But no one seemed to know who you were, just the night cleaner. I had to check employee records." "Well, I'm not an employee anymore," Rachel said, unable to keep the bitterness from her voice. Her apparently being a good mother and a good cleaner are mutually exclusive. Lucas frowned. "I didn't know, and this isn't right." "It's fine," Rachel said, though it wasn't. "That's life for people like me. We're replaceable." "No," Lucas said firmly. "You're not." He handed her his business card with a cell number scribbled on the back. "Call me tomorrow morning. I need to fix this." Rachel stared at the card, then tucked it away. She didn't believe anything would come of it, but she had nothing to lose. The next evening her phone rang, unknown number. "Rachel Moore, this is Gideon Corp HR. Mr. Gideon has requested a meeting tomorrow at 9 a.m. Her first thought, they found something missing, they're going to blame me. The Gideon lobby looked different in daylight, bustling with purposeful people in business attire. Rachel felt conspicuous in her best interview clothes, a simple blouse and slacks that had seen better days. She was escorted not to HR, but to the 12th floor. Lucas Gideon was waiting, not behind his imposing desk, but seated in one of 2 armchairs by the window. "Thank you for coming," he said, gesturing to the other chair. "I heard about your termination." Rachel sat stiffly. "If something's missing, I didn't take anything." "That's not why you're here." Lucas leaned forward. "You were fired for trying to be a good mother and a good employee simultaneously. That's not acceptable in my company." He paused. "Or rather, it shouldn't be." Rachel waited, confused. "I don't know your name," he continued, "but for 3 months you've been the conscience of this building. You made people feel seen when they were struggling. You reminded me there are humans behind every spreadsheet cell." He handed her a folder. "This is a new position, the Workplace Culture Coordinator. Competitive salary, flexible hours, comprehensive benefits. Your primary responsibility would be implementing what we're calling the Note Project, a company-wide initiative to improve employee well-being through small, meaningful connections. Rachel stared at the offer letter, the salary figure blurring through sudden tears. It was 3 times what she'd earned as a cleaner, enough to move to a better apartment, enough for Jamie to take music lessons, have a proper winter coat, maybe even save for college. "I don't have a degree," she said finally, voice thick with emotion. "I don't have corporate experience." "You have something rarer," Lucas said simply. "You see people. You understand what they need to thrive. You managed to humanize a CEO the press calls a robot. Why would you do this for me?" "Because," Lucas said, "a cleaning woman left me a note when my father was dying that said, 'Remember, your decisions affect real lives.' I realized I've built a company with balance sheets but no soul. I want to change that, and I need your help." Rachel looked down at her hands, still rough from cleaning solutions, then back at the man offering her a lifeline. "I'll need to be home by 3 p.m. for my son." Lucas nodded. "We'll make it work." In that moment, both understood that something extraordinary had happened. The invisible woman had been seen, the untouchable CEO had been reached, and a company built on cold efficiency was taking its first step toward something warmer. Rachel signed the contract, hand trembling. Slightly, "I still can't believe this is happening." "Believe it," Lucas said, "but understand this isn't charity. I expect results. I want this company to become a place where people feel valued, where they bring their whole selves to work, where no one feels invisible." "I won't let you down," Rachel promised. As she left his office, a new note waited on her palm. "Today you did something brave. Tomorrow you'll do something remarkable. Someone who sees your potential." That night, Rachel told Jamie they'd be moving to a new apartment closer to his school, that she had a new job where she could pick him up every day, that things were about to get better. "Did someone finally notice how amazing you are, Mum?" Jamie asked. Rachel smiled, thinking of the unlikely friendship forming with Lucas Gideon. "I think we noticed each other." 3 months later, the Gideon Court building hummed with a different energy. Colorful noteboards had appeared in break rooms, covered with employee messages of encouragement and gratitude. The cafeteria now featured a community table where people from different departments mingled, small changes rippling outward. Rachel's new office sat on the 11th floor, close enough to leadership to have influence, but purposely not on the executive level. Her door remained open, a steady stream of employees stopping by. Some brought problems, others ideas, all left feeling heard. The Note Project had expanded beyond sticky notes to become a comprehensive employee support initiative. Flexible schedules for parents, mental health resources, community volunteer days, all growing from that first simple act of acknowledgement. On her desk stood the framed drawing from Sophia in design, a reminder of where she'd started. Beside it, a photo of Jamie on his first day at his new school, beaming with confidence. And next to that, a small yellow sticky note framed in simple black, the very first one she'd written. Lucas had found it, kept by the marketing director who'd received it months ago. Lucas Gideon had changed too. Though still demanding and brilliant, the sharp edges had softened. He began hosting monthly lunches with employees from all levels, listening more than speaking. The press had noticed, running a feature titled "The Robot CEO's Human Upgrade." His father had passed away, but not before seeing his son transform the company culture. At the memorial service, Rachel had sat quietly in the back, observing, as Lucas spoke with genuine emotion about legacy and what truly matters. "My father built a business on relationships," he'd said, voice steady despite his grief. "I tried to build one on transactions. He taught me that a company's greatest assets aren't on any balance sheet. They're the people who pour their lives into its success." I'm only beginning to understand the wisdom in that lesson. The changes at Gideon Corp began attracting attention. Other companies inquired about the Note Project. Industry publications wrote about the cultural transformation. Most importantly, employee satisfaction scores rose dramatically while turnover dropped to industry low levels. One evening, As sunset painted the office windows gold, Lucas stopped by Rachel's office. "Conference room," he said with unusual nervousness. "There's something you should see." Inside, the executive team stood gathered around the table. On it lay a simple plaque. "The More Initiative, because everyone deserves to be seen. We're expanding the program company-wide," Lucas explained. "All 23 offices effective immediately, and we want you to lead it." Rachel looked around at the faces watching her, no longer executives and the cleaning lady, but colleagues united by a shared purpose. "From notes to systemic change," she said softly. "I never imagined this." Lucas smiled, a real smile that reached his eyes. "Someone once told me, you did good today." Turns out that someone was right. As the meeting broke up, Lucas remained behind with Rachel. "My father would have liked you," he said. "He always believed that true success comes from seeing what others miss." "I think I would have liked him too," Rachel replied. "He raised a son who was willing to listen when it mattered most." "Can I ask you something?" Lucas said, his tone thoughtful. "That first night we really talked during the storm, why did you risk your job to leave that note about the layoffs? You could have just stayed invisible." Rachel considered the question carefully. "I guess I was tired of being a ghost. When you clean up after people day after day, you start to feel like you don't exist. Those notes were my way of saying I'm here, I matter, and maybe reminding others that they matter too." "You changed this company," Lucas said simply. "And if I'm honest, you changed me too." "We changed each other," Rachel corrected gently. "That's how connection works." That night, when Rachel picked up Jamie from his after-school program, he asked about her day as usual. Instead of the simplified version she typically offered, she told him the truth. "I helped people remember to be kind to each other, and they listened." Together they walked through their new neighborhood, modest but safe, with trees lining the sidewalks and children playing in front yards. Jamie's hand in hers, Rachel felt a sense of peace that had eluded her for years. "Mom," Jamie said suddenly, "you know how you always leave notes for people to make them feel better?" "Yes, I started doing that too. At school, there's this kid everyone ignores. I left him a note saying he's good at math." Rachel stopped walking, her heart full to bursting. "That was a wonderful thing to do, Jamie." He grinned up at her. "I learned from the best." In that moment, Rachel understood the true power of what had happened. Her small acts of kindness hadn't just changed her life or Gideon Corp. They had taught her son that one person, no matter how seemingly insignificant, can create meaningful change. Sometimes the smallest kindnesses can clean away the dust that's gathered on our hearts. Sometimes the people society renders invisible are the very ones who help us truly see. And sometimes a simple note can spark a revolution of compassion that changes everything. Remember this, dear listener. You never know whose life you're changing with your smallest acts of kindness. The coffee you buy for a stranger. The smile you offer freely. The moment you pause to truly see someone others look past. You may feel invisible sometimes, but someone notices. Someone always notices. And that can make all the difference in the world. Thank you for spending time with Rachel and Lucas's story today. If these moments of invisible kindness touched your heart, please hit that like button to help others discover stories of healing and hope. Did you see yourself in this story? Share your thoughts below. And don't forget to subscribe for more heartwarming tales that remind us how small acts of kindness can transform lives.